You're listening to a 4x4 Radio Network podcast.
Whoa, that escalated quickly.
It always does. Hey, Jeepers. Welcome to the next episode of On the Trail with Kevin and Scott. I'm Kevin, the engineer, the guy that reads the instructions, uses the right tools, and generally follows those instructions.
And I'm Scott. Welcome to show 119. I'm the slapstick parts guy, and I'm the one that didn't have instructions. I went on the internet, watched the YouTube videos. We'll get to that in a minute. Still tried my best, and then learned you only had a 2-year shelf life. And then when I need an adult, took a break, but we'll get to that in a second. So while we will share what worked for us,
As well as what didn't.
like we're going to talk about, remember, it's always up to you to do your research, read the instructions.
And always, please follow them.
Did I get it right?
Yeah, you did.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
As opposed to me.
119 shows. 119 shows.
Yeah, as opposed to me, who had the opposite karma here as we got started. The Patreons can see my monitors in the background.
Yeah.
As there's a little green bar, as somehow I got the wrong format. Instead of formatting the memory chip for the camera, it ended up reformatting my 2 terabyte external hard drive.
Yeah.
And I have a recovery program right now at 22,702 files found. And the bar looks like it's maybe an eighth.
An eighth of the way. Yeah.
of the way.
So, which is.
And I'm afraid it's not moving anything else. But we'll see. We'll see. Crossing my fingers I can recover that because there was a lot of material on that drive.
I am hoping so too, sir.
Yep. So, anyhow, on to show 119. And I guess this show's going to be about
Stress and
stress.
we actually talked about a little bit. I just had to do something for school, about stress. But the bigger issue of the whole show and idea is that being afraid to fail. We talked about other shows, getting the whiteboard and planning projects, bench building, and doing all these things. So let's say you've done all that and you've looked at this and gone, okay, so how should I approach this? Should I pay somebody? Should I DIY, DIFM? Those of you who don't know, it's do it for me.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't FOMO. You should not fear of missing out on how to do something. You should take that ability. And, sometimes the best school that we learn from is a school of hard knocks, the school of failure, the school of giving it a shot. Quick little byline about, many, many years ago, back when the Earth's crust was cooling, I really wanted to tile my house. I don't know what it was. I just had to tile my house. So I go buy all the cheap tiles. I was gifted a whole big box of tile, and I sat there and learned and made lots of mistakes on how to tile. But I sat back, and I'll tell you right now, that was a best-looking floor that had a lot of hollow spots in it. Because darn it, I did it. And it felt good. I mean, remember those Fram commercials, nothing like a job well done, had the greasy handprint. I stepped back. Not only did I learn something, but I learned something about myself that I can do this thing. It was a big self-confidence booster. So I took that, and back in 2017, I bought a big roll of black vinyl so I could wrap Dory's 4-door Jeep.
Yep.
Okay.
And you got rid of the Jeep before you actually opened the vinyl.
So anyways, as we know, the 6-speed Rubicon LJs are really hard to find. Quick little byline from that, though. Crawling for the Fallen website. You can log on now to get a raffle ticket to buy a 1-ton build LJ they're having for Crawling for the Fallen coming up in November, but we'll have more about that later. But on that night's other byline to the byline is the Jeeps are hard to find now. So, of course, what color do I find? Red. What's Scott's least favorite color? Red. So I said, well, let me see. Should I go ahead and do a plasti dip? Should I repaint the whole Jeep? That ain't happening. It's too expensive. Should I let it ride with red and just learn to love the color red? That ain't happening either. Or, gee, we sold Dory's Jeep and got their Gladiator, and I had this black thing of vinyl left. I'm like, I'm going to learn how to wrap. I wanted to learn how to wrap, so now I'm going to learn how to wrap. And let me tell you something. This boy can't wrap.
You probably could.
Well,
but
So I tackled it. So I did the online research. I went on YouTube videos. I asked questions of friends that did wrapping, because we want to do Dory's Jeep. She wants to do highlighter yellow. She wants that highlighter yellow on her Gladiator. I know. I could see Kevin's eyes, pupils going brrr, as we speak. Hey, happy wife, happy life.
Yep.
So as we're talking about this, I'm like, let me go ahead and do this. I'm going to dive right in. So I take the weekend and I do. Again, I've been watching these videos for years, and I decide, okay, I'm going to go ahead and tackle this. So I start taking everything off the Jeep. I remove the headlamps, or the tail lamps, and the side marker lamps, the fenders, the side armor, the side steps, the handles. I am going to town removing this stuff. And I said, okay, let's do this. So we get the vinyl out, Dory's inside, and I decide I'm going to wrap the tailgate real quickly. Wah, 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 wah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, hold on. I have the button right here. Maybe... That. It was a disaster. I could not get the vinyl to line up, and so finally at this point I walk in the house all dejected, and Dory's like, what's wrong? I said, I need an adult. She goes, come on, let's go. We walk out there, we do the first side, and it starts laying down perfectly. We start, squeegeeing it. I'm like, oh, this is going good. But we're having a problem with it stretching. The vinyl just wasn't stretching. Even with the heat gun, I'm like, all right, well, we can do this. We got this. So I force it in there. I've got the microfiber glove on. And yes, before people ask, I did wipe the inside of everywhere. I used the alcohol. I washed with dish soap. I did everything you're supposed to do. So we're getting this down and we're doing this. And like, okay, we finished up to where the normal TJ armor would go. Like, let's just jump the other side because these are the biggest pieces. This is the most real estate next to the hood. And I only have 20
biggest and flattest pieces.
Yes, biggest and flattest pieces. So I have 24 by 5 foot to work with. So we start the other side. So we learn from the mistakes from the other side. So we start. I section it a little bit. And as I'm doing this, there's a car that keeps passing by. One of my fellow campers. I'm like, that guy keeps driving by slowly. But oh well. So true to form, we get it done, and all of a sudden, as we're halfway through the other side, Dory says, and I'll never forget this, we're paying someone to do the Gladiator. Because it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Those people online make it look so easy. So I get done, and I go down there, and I take the trash out, and I come back up. That same car, I saw the guy standing out there. And I say, hey, what's going on, man? He goes, oh, not much. I wrap Mary's truck. I'm like, oh, you're the guy I'm supposed to talk to, because everyone told me, go talk to this guy. So we get done talking, and he goes, actually, you did a pretty good job. And to me, as long as you don't open the doors where I wrap the inside, and it looks terrible now, it looks great. It's what I call a blocker more job. It looks good from a blocker more. And so I'm doing this, and he goes, actually, you did a really good job. And he goes, for a amateur. I said, that's fine. And he goes, what kind of wrapper are you using? I said, well, Vivid Plus. He goes, oh, man, that is the hardest vinyl to use. That is some tough stuff to work with. So I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, it should have stretched here. Why didn't it stretch? How old's the vinyl? I said, well, I bought it in 2017. He goes, I literally heard the guy face palm. He goes, dude, vinyl's only good for 2 years, like the shelf life.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. I'm like, well, I learned something new today. So we got to talking, and most likely I'm going to have him help me do the Gladiator, but because we talked some shop a little bit. But the idea is that I tackled a job, and I'm going to finish it, even though my Jeep's kind of half done right now. Even though the vinyl is going to be a pain to finish working with, I'm going to finish it because it's going to look good from a blocker more, which is all I want, and it's not red anymore. But I took it upon myself, and those YouTubers made it look so easy. But the point of the matter is, though, is that all things considered, I'm glad I tackled this job, because Plastidip, it's easier to get on, but harder to get off. This is harder to get on, but easier to get off. So I'm actually glad I did it. I did my research. Except for some of the things I missed about shelf life of, the stuff, but I did my research. I took my time, and with a very loving hand of my wife, who has the patience of a saint, we were able to finish the job for the most part. And it came out looking really good. Even the other guys at my work who do vinyl wrapping said, all things considered, Scott, it does look pretty good. You actually did do everything's smooth. The rounded corners are nice. You did a really good job. And I said, yeah, I haven't done the doors yet. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
But I learned.
You got that body line. Well, and that's extremely speaks highly of you and the fact that you're self-starting on it.
Yeah.
But I'll also throw in there that, one of my personal pet peeves is people who saying, I can't. And unless there is something physical about you for whatever you want to do, okay, can't really doesn't apply. Won't is a better phrase. Okay. I have been lucky enough to be taught and to teach hundreds and hundreds of people just all sorts of different skills.
Right.
And aside from physical limitations, all right, most people don't want to. They say they do, but they don't want to learn how to do things. And that can be anything from changing your own tire
Right.
to overhauling an engine to picking a certain line on the trail or even going up a trail. I'm a firm believer that we shortchange ourselves in our skills and abilities far more than actually is real.
Right.
And there really is no shame in failing.
Right.
All right. There is a risk of failure that needs to be weighed. So, in other words, if you're going to replace the brakes on your Jeep for the first time, okay, maybe you really should have someone oversee you, because if you screw it up, there can be some very dire consequences. But, wrapping your vehicle, what's the worst that happens? You have to peel it off and start over.
Right.
Or God forbid, maybe you scratch the underlying paint by the process you did wrong or something. So you're willing, and that's probably the strongest thing that I like to see in people. When we were teaching people how to off-road, entry, wheeling 101 is who we used to call it.
Right.
Those people were automatic winners in my book because every one of them came out with the I'm going to wheel. Mm-hmm. Never done it before. Don't know what,
Don't know what to expect.
Don't know what to expect, but I want to try it. And that particular trait is probably the single biggest trait in this whole, DIY genre. Everybody's like, oh, you can't set gears. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not you want to invest the time to learn the tools, and whatnot, there's prudent decisions there.
Yeah.
I shouldn't do my own gears because I don't have the patience. I don't have the money for the tools or, something like that.
Right.
That's a reasonable. But when I hear people go, oh, I can't do that. Really?
Or I wish I knew how to do that.
Well, those are the other ones. I go, really? If you want to, come on, let's start learning. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of stuff I haven't done yet, but I'm gonna.
Yeah.
There's very few things. I don't think I'll practice DIY surgery. Just the consequence. I think I got him on that one, folks.
No, because I can't say it because it's a family show, but it let's just put it this way. One of the comics a long time ago, I think it was, oh my goodness, Robin Williams says, don't mind me, I'm going to be in the corner doing a very delicate surgery on myself with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Where a moil would be concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you said that, my mind went to that. Again, the synapse fired in my I'll see myself out.
Yeah. So, no, I really, the Jeep world is full of opportunities for you to do.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. If you say, well, nah, I don't want to, that's okay.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
I just think that I can't is lying to yourself. I realize that's a little deep for a Jeep show, but, there's a whole lot about Jeeping that fills up with people. I constantly hear that comment, well, I can't. Yeah. Really? You can. You just don't want to. And that's okay if you're giving it for the right reason. I don't want to because I don't have the time. Okay, I believe that.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't want to because I have other obligations.
Okay.
Absolutely. I don't have the money to teach myself, or I don't know, how to learn. Okay, I get all that. But, the whole thing about the Jeeping is kind of based in that self-reliant, I'm going to go out and me and nature are going to go one-on-one, and nature may win and I may win.
Right.
Personally, I believe you ought to do it in the cooperative sense, which is nature wins and you win both. But, I've seen an awful lot of Jeepers that it's like me or nature.
Well, it's funny real quick, and I don't mean to byline you, but it's funny because everyone says, man, I wish, actually one of our technicians kind of said the same thing, I wish I knew as much as you did, because an MST tech, a lube tech, he goes, man, I wish I knew as much as you did. And I said, well, why is that? He goes, well, because, we had a problem with the Jeep, and I walked up in 2 seconds, I knew what was wrong with it. And, he's like, I wish I knew as much as you do. And I said, you know what's funny? And he goes, yeah. He goes, how I got my knowledge? He said, wow. How did you start? And I said, double wiper blades that were white on my 83 Cavalier. And he looked at me and goes, what? Whoa, what?
Yep.
I said, you remember those really gaudy double wiper blades in the late 80s, early 90s that had 2 wiper blades? They were chrome, gold, whatever. I had an 83 Cavalier with 2 MTX 10s in the back and an old 150-watt Majestic and a JVC twin knob radio that I installed myself with Radio Shack wire. It was a hack job. But I remember I said, man, this thing looks like a you-know-what. So I go into the auto parts store and I get dual wipers, white, and I put them on there and said, yeah. And I got myself my no fear sticker. And I know I'm showing my 90s now. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, but this thing needs more.
Yep.
So I worked hard, traded in, got an 85 Isuzu pickup truck and learned how to lower it, learned how to put wheels on it, learned how to do a lot of work on it. And I failed a lot. I can tell you, I've probably blown up more amplifiers than I've ever installed.
Yep.
Let out the magic smoke. Mm-hmm. But I did it because I couldn't afford. And I want to, and sometimes the like the amplifier in the older right now, it's just sitting inside the, not even bolted down right now. And sometimes I've come back and gone, that's a good job. But I took that, I stayed with it. And if I had a problem, I'd ask an expert. When I say expert, a friend in the neighborhood that already did it as a hobby. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't, I think you showed it, you said, you made a statement one time, a long time ago. It's not show me how, it's teach me how.
That's always a better way to ask the question.
And they taught me how.
Mm-hmm. Because, folks, one of the things you'll notice in the YouTube world, I'll throw this out there, and don't get me wrong, I watch YouTube. Now, I really don't watch TV anymore because that's a little too pre-digested, and I kind of like the raw nature of the YouTube videos. But there's really, other than just strictly the entertainment ones, there's 2 kinds of, let's call them DIY videos. Mm-hmm. And one is this is how you do this. And the other is, I'm doing this, you can look over my shoulder. And so I typically phrase them, Scott's heard the phrase many times, you can do a over-the-shoulder video or you can do a how-to.
Right.
The how-to takes insane amounts of effort and time to make a good how-to video. Mm-hmm. You've got to do and reshoot in different angles, and you've got to try and figure out every single question somebody might have in a how-to environment.
Right.
And then there's the over-the-shoulder. I'm not showing you how to do it. This is what I did, kind of a picture. Look right over my shoulder. They're very similar from the end product, but the over-the-shoulder one really, what's the release you see on the end of all these? Does not show all, steps and details necessary to perform from the service.
Here's one I made earlier.
Yes.
When the casserole.
Yeah. So.
Prepared earlier.
Excuse me, I got something in the throat. But so, you get a lot of people who say, can you show me how to do that? Well, that's an over-the-shoulder request.
Yeah.
If you go for the, can you teach me how to do this? That's a totally different commitment by both the teacher and the student.
I have a litmus test.
Yeah.
Am I saying it right?
Yeah, you're saying it right.
Good. If you watch a video and it's an over-the-shoulder, here's a question you need to ask yourself. If the person says, well, I'm taking this wobble shaft gasket on this 72 Plymouth Wombat and I'm going to torque it to 82 Newton meters, if you're the type of person to pause and Google wobble shaft gasket and then Google 72 Plymouth Wombat and then Google Newton meter, you're probably the one that's going to say, hey, will you teach me how?
Yeah.
If you continue to watch through the video and go, oh, that's cool, then you're a show me how. There's no wrong with either one.
No, there's not. And we're not trying to judge either one, but I'm just trying to say that the vast number of videos out there in the YouTube world are, in fact, over the shoulders.
Right.
They're not really heavily educational. They're just, hey, watch me, replace the brakes on this, Subaru. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And there's a lot of them that are gray that kind of cross over, and somebody with experience in that field might look at a over the shoulder and go, oh, okay, so that's how you do your Plymouth Wombat.
Yeah.
but it really wasn't instructional for somebody who's sitting there going, I've never,
Heard of a Plymouth Wombat.
much less pulled the brakes off of one,
And really, Scott, what is a wobble shaft gasket? We'll get into that later.
Well, did you know there is such a thing?
You know what the best part was? I had an old schooler say, hey, how much for a bump stick? And I said, really? You want jobber pricing? He said, touche.
Yep. No, there is a wobble stick, and it's familiar to many pilots, particularly of older aircraft. And it is the handle for a fuel pump, a manual fuel pump, and it's called a wobble stick.
Yeah, because you could seaplanes have them. You can manually pump it or something like that.
Well, it's actually any plane, but yes, you can pump them up, and you used to, because they don't require a certain linear stroke. You can just kind of wobble them around, and it has a diaphragm pump, and it would pump fuel up to an aircraft engine. And if that was the choice between you sitting there and wobbling a shaft around for a half an hour to get somewhere or crashing into the ground, you'd probably wobble away, wouldn't you?
I've known this man nearly 7 years, and I've always joked around with wobble shaft, and there he ruins my joke with a fact.
Hey,
I love you.
The life is full of facts.
Yes, it is.
You can dig them anywhere you want.
Okay, family show. But anyways, no, but
There was nothing wrong with
I know.
that.
That's my favorite saying.
Yep.
But again, those are the kind of things where it doesn't matter which side of the fence you fall on. That's why, because you're there to learn something. By all means, learn. You can never go wrong learning a skill or trade or how to do something incorrectly. But the sometimes fear is that holdback. And I remember many times I've been trying to do the spark plugs on Dory's Jeep for a minute. I got frustrated and I stopped and walked away. I can't do it. And then I realized, no, I have to. I have to change the spark plug.
Because you started.
And I found a way.
Yeah.
I found, like they say, hunger is a great motivator. So is needing to get something done.
Yep. And it's nice if you plan accordingly. If you're starting something you've never done before, even if you don't have a friend there who has done it before, if you have their number on your phone and your phone's charged, is probably a good thing. And it's funny how that little bit of psychological preparation will actually make the job go better.
Yeah.
If you always know that you've got, I don't want to use the word moment out, you'll be a little more confident.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, it goes back to the general idea of, do you want to learn?
Yeah.
And it's not a matter of show me, it's teach me.
Yeah.
Because I can show you. I can show you in real quick and over the shoulder mode, blip. It's like the guy who shows one lug nut coming off and then all five and then the tires on the ground. Yeah. What you didn't see was the tire was rusted to the brake drum and that he had to kick it like a karate kick to break it free. And then it dropped on his foot and he was jumping around swearing like a Yosemite Sam. Fressin.
The good old judo chop.
Yes.
Shout out.
Yes, Eric, that was meant for you.
Yes, of course, that's my new favorite line at work. Because every time someone does something like judo chop, I'm like, what? Never mind, it's a video. Go back to it.
Right.
Okay, Scott just being Scott again.
Yeah, he is.
But one of the, again, many cool ideas about learning and doing things for yourself when you talk about wheeling, again, know your limitations. If safety is an issue, like brakes or, there's bits of old Jeeps left behind as they rolled down the embankment, that's okay. But again, the teach me, show me, learn me kind of is the same idea. It's, being failure is always an option, but, mitigate the damage of a failure.
Yeah.
I think is the best way to say it.
That is it. Make sure you have an out.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying a trail you've never done before, get out, follow a spotter for a person in front of you and watch what they're calling, watch the prob. You'll be a better driver if you can see what tires are doing. And you can't always see that from a steering wheel position.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little tricks to learning. Just think about how you had to adjust yourself to learn in school. Okay. Right. If you're a self-taught mechanic, that's great, but you had to learn. What did you learn by? How many bolts did you break? I mean, that was me busting bolts, snapping spark plugs before I realized that there was a reason that there are spark plug sockets so you don't break the porcelain, you know. And no, we're not talking about the toilet porcelain. We're talking about spark plug porcelain here.
Well, you made a very good comment. And sorry, if I don't say I'll forget it. It's a good line is we talked about how before we recorded the show, we did a little project for my school. And I made the comment about how, here I'm back in school trying to do this again. You said, no, Scott, you had to learn how to learn again.
Yeah.
So if you're like, you're getting to the Jeep world a little late in the game, it's okay to learn how to learn again.
Yeah. You're going to learn differently now.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing is not convincing yourself that you know it all. I'm
That's
sitting
hard.
here. That's hard, but I'm sorry. I'm still learning, and I expect every day to learn something new. It may just be that bag of cereal's gone bad, when you open it up. But
God. I only have to say this because part of the financial performance here, talking about letting things go. I actually had some snack crackers in my desk, and talking about eating them. It's like I'm crunching this, going, God, this tastes terrible.
But you kept
this
eating.
Expired a few days ago. Now, bear in mind, there's only one cracker left. Yeah. What did we learn? But real quickly though, I want to pause because I think this is a great segue about knowing everything. I think this is an awesome segue about to going to the garage because of your
okay.
something you recently put. Unless there's something else you want to touch real quickly before we go.
Nope.
Cool. So we're going to take a quick little break, and we'll be right back after these messages because Kevin, again, the mastermind, a perfect segue. So with that, we will be right back. Hey Jeepers, as always, don't forget to check out all the fun stuff on the On the Trail podcast Patreon page. You can become a Patreon, help the show grow, and see videos of me sitting here closing my eyes, trying to form a cognitive sentence, and hopefully no one's staring at me going, meh, as I'm doing this. Open my eyes, good, I'm safe. And with that, also the 4x4 Radio Network. They also have some other great shows out there. And always our corporate Patreons. A big thank you to them for also helping to keep the lights on. So with that, we're going to tippy-tire back into the garage for Kevin's awesome segue.
Well, I don't know about the segue. I didn't plan that, so I'm just rolling with what he said.
Well, and that's what we talked about, like the other side, the dark side of the internet. As you go and you learn, you ask questions.
But before I get to that, I'm going to pause and jump aside just for a little bit of an update on the LS NYJ.
Yes.
We left it with it fired up and rolling, but there have been some tweaks, and I thought I'd be honest and share some tweaks with you. Mm-hmm. Number one, we discovered that the brand new alternator that came on the engine failed.
Right.
So replace that, and that made a significant improvement in reliability. Number two, he kept having some sporadic lighting issues in the dash. Okay, so he wanted to replace the bulbs. It has this mixture of mini peanut bulbs, regular peanut bulbs, and we went LED.
So the dash is a bag of mixed nuts.
Very much.
Okay.
Very much.
Sorry.
But as along with that, we discovered that, and knew this was coming, and his battery clamps were really, they're 95 YJ. And they'd been hammered on and off batteries more than their fair share of times.
Right.
We had enough leftover cable because he had bought some cable for, the charging cables and a few higher amperage draw situations that weren't included with the Novak kit.
Right.
So we pulled and made new cables for the starter lead and new cables for a ground, fully solder potted the connectors after crimping them, those kinds of steps. Put it all back on, and he was like, oh my goodness. Look at the difference inside here. I'm like, yeah, it's amazing what happens when you actually give the electricity a clean path from point A to point B.
Yay!
We did have a noise in the back. Turns out that we're pretty sure, still not totally sure, that the drive shaft, brand new drive shaft, the center ball in the double cardan joint up at the transfer case went out. Not because of necessarily excessive flex, but it spit out its grease fitting. And there was a very nice rainbow arch of grease on the belly of the Jeep, And when we talked to the drive shaft folks at Tom Woods, shout out to them, they've run their shafts in my Jeep. They definitely are willing to talk to you. And they said, how far do you think you drove with the grease slung out of the center ball? And he said, I don't know, maybe 50 miles. He said, yeah, it's dead. So that's coming out shortly. He actually just went ahead and got a new shaft made to make sure that there was clearance. But we actually, without knowing, we went ahead and pulled the entire transfer case we just built back out of his Jeep, tore it completely apart, checked every single bearing, bolt, looking for wear. It was perfect, so it went back right in again. So it's getting close. There may be, the suspension has settled, so we had 8-degree shims on the rear axle to get the pumpkin pinion angle correct. But now that the suspension's beginning to settle in, it looks like we may have to change those down to 6-degree shims.
Cool.
But he's got the new shims and center bolts, and since we've fought the battle of getting the things to fit. So all in all, the kit is going really well. The motor is running fantastic. Yes, we're having to deal with the usual odds and ends, but he's now remounting the winch, finishing all the trim details, and we're heading back to having the thing fully on the road. It's moved now from this, I got to get it done, week that we did it, to, okay, I'm going out and spending an hour or two here tinkering on this, and I'm going to tinker on that. He can drive it if he needs to right around here, but we're going to get it completely up and running. And we'll try and get some good pictures and get them posted on the Facebook page here before too much longer. He happened to have a 2-week vacation up in Tennessee,
Yay.
so that's why there's been no real progress recently till he gets back.
Well, vacations are good.
Yeah, they are. They are. So anyhow, back into the garage, and one of the things Scott's referring to was, for those of you who are on our Facebook page, you may recall that I made a post a couple days ago. One of those, how do I put it? I had one of those days.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily a bad day. But as I was musing through the day, I was watching another video, help me out here. YouTube,
video, yeah.
that thing. YouTube guy that I follow, who works with antique machinery. A lot of the old Caterpillar D2s and Farmall H tractors, and really an awesome channel. And he apparently himself, like me, had his fair share of detractors,
right?
Or what'd you call them? Armchair quarterbacks, know-it-alls. Those are all negative. I refer to them quite oftenly as the northbound end of a southbound mule, and that is not family unfriendly.
No. I
Mom and Dad will have to explain a few of those.
I instantly go to how I can say it as a non-family way and go, nope, can't do that.
Yeah, no, can't do that. But he reminded me, because he was having one of those sessions too, and I was really impressed with it. He just said, "Look, I'm gonna repeat a quote to you," and it's a quote that I knew well. I knew very, very well. It's one of those that stuck with me way back, probably every bit of 40 or 50 years. When I first really, I'd heard it in school,
right.
But I read it again in some other research early in my career. And, you get a lot of detractors when you're young, referencing the discussion we've just had at the first half of the show.
Right.
And there's a lot of negative feedback, and a lot of people don't know how to be supportive, unfortunately. They only know how to be critical.
Yeah.
And Scott had asked me to go ahead and reread this quote. You can find it on our Facebook page on the post. The title of it was Some Musings from the Garage and Trail. And this is a kind of a reference to those of you out there who like to snipe, at people who are trying, because trying is the great step into the unknown,
right.
Whether it's what path to take, what trail to follow, what wrench to turn, can I do this project? And the trial, the difficulty is making that choice.
Right.
And of course, you know me, I'm a big proponent of making the choice and dealing with the results. And before you ask, there is nothing but that. Make your choice and deal with the results.
Yeah.
They may be a good result. They may be a bad result, but you'll be smarter for the change. But
yeah, pretty much.
This is a This is a quote from a speech by our former president, long before I was born. I'm not that old, but Theodore Roosevelt, better known as Teddy Roosevelt, home of the origin of the teddy bear.
Yep, I was going to say that.
And he was, I believe it was in Paris, France, and he made a speech officially entitled Citizen in a Republic. But there's an excerpt that everybody pulls out now. It's just a short one, and it's called The Man in the Arena. And it was something he came up with and directed towards the people who were armchair quarterbacking him. And
Right.
it really, to me, just speaks, it just makes me feel better.
It speaks volumes about character.
It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Well said by our former president. You may find this a weird departure on a Jeep show, but there's a lot about Jeeping that is a venture into the unknown. Whether you've never changed your own oil and you're going to do it for the first time,
Yep.
to taking on the Rubicon Trail for the first time, and never having driven out of Florida, sand. There's always a challenge to this lifestyle.
Right.
And the point is, try. Do so smartly, but you'll never know victory or defeat. And you'll just be one of those folks sitting there at the other end of a keyboard making pithy comments about the guy who decided to, why do you put an LS into a YJ? Why didn't you put a 6-liter? Why didn't you put in a 6.4? Why didn't you turbocharge it? Why didn't you should have just kept, okay, go build your own.
Yeah.
And see how it succeeds. I enjoy taking up the challenge each and every time for friends, for family, answering questions on the Facebook pages where I can, because I can.
Yeah. Well, we actually, in our own message at the beginning of the show, we even, we kind of proselytize this is that, do your research, do your own research, take that initial step to see, if you have the skills, the tools and whatnot, or if you want to, again, there's no shame in paying someone else. But to me, I take from that quote in that speech is that the person going out there, doesn't matter the skill level, but going out there and making an honest effort.
It's the
to
willingness
do something.
to try.
It's a willingness to try, to learn, will always, in my mind, garner more respect from the one that sits back and says how you're doing it wrong.
Yep.
Or you should have did it this way. Now, there are some people there are some elitists in the Jeep Facebook groups that have done some of this stuff. To me, that's kind of like, and I hate to say this, like the Darth Vader of the Jeep world.
There's always going to be those.
They took skills they learned, and instead of doing it for good, have now become snark.
Yeah.
You're not an OG unless you do that. This is my build.
Yeah. And you're going to find that with humanity here, but our focus here isn't necessarily to throw darts at those that are snarky, but rather to those that are kind of timid and unsure of themselves. The Jeep is an opportunity for you to make of it what you want. We always tell you that, it's up to you. Do your research, make your choices, read the instructions, and follow them. And that can apply to just about everything from, if you want to put halo lights, fine, put halo lights on. There are going to be a lot of people that don't like halo lights. You want to put underglow on, go ahead and put underglow on. You want to lower your Jeep instead of raise it. Well, knock yourself out. It's your Jeep. And you will learn by doing those things, or even if you do pay someone to do it, at least know what they did. But on the other hand, those that just want to tell, well, it's not the same as mine, so it's no good. Well, I would have things to say to that person, but not right here,
Well, I know you're talking about not throwing darts at people, but I'm hoping someone reads or listens to this show. And if you are one of the people that are a little snark, understand that the Jeep lifestyle in the community is changing, and you, like dinosaurs, either you embrace change and, there are smarter ways I have seen many people, I can name 3, I'm not going to, who started out with the looks good crowd and now went to Moab.
Yep.
They're very much on their second build, and they didn't have any of the stuff that brought over from the last build, which was the looks good stuff. But, I started with those stupid double wiper blades.
Yep.
That everyone looked at and probably went, why? It can be something as benign as putting on tail lamp covers with a paw print. Mm-hmm. That is something that you took up the mantle to do. You learned, and you stepped back and went, I did it.
Yeah, you did.
And it takes those small steps. So as the person going, why'd you put the stupid little paw print? I wanted them,
That's the answer.
And that's,
I wanted them.
Yeah.
And don't let the naysayers beat you down, I guess is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Whether you choose to do it yourself or you pay someone, the point is do what you want to do to your Jeep the way you want it done.
Yeah.
There are things that I'm not fond of, as far as stylistically, but I don't bash anybody. A Jeep is a Jeep, and even a near Jeep can work for me.
Yeah.
I'm not, quite frankly, as much as I love my Jeep, I'm not the Jeep elitist.
Yeah.
If I was a Jeep elitist, I would not be putting LS motors in Jeeps.
Yeah.
I would be rebuilding the existing factory motor to,
Well,
but
it's sometimes like for you, like that to me, it's that's not a real Jeep.
what is a real Jeep?
Yeah, I get that's one of those inflammatory statements. It's like, okay, well, as I said 1,000 times and have said 1,000 times on the internet, do you drive a M Series Jeep from 1941? No, I got a TJ. Well, then technically, by definition. But again, that's not my place to argue, because just like arguing with, what was it, the old saying, if you argue with someone, they get dirty, or what, that doesn't matter.
Don't argue with a pig.
Okay, that's it.
For you will both get muddy and the pig will enjoy it.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's best, like, if you're taking on these things, you answer and reply to those that give positive support.
Yeah.
And don't feed the online troll, and just move on.
That's all you can do.
Yeah.
Or you do like I do and put a very obtuse quote from a dead president on the Facebook page and watch it go viral.
Yeah. Well, but it's good words to live by.
Well, I will say that nothing's going to stop me from continuing what I do with the Jeep world, okay, which is playing with my Jeep, working on it, building it the way I want, tweaking it, and then helping others any way I can, within reason. Every once in a while, the wife does want me to come home for dinner.
Hey, by the way, congratulations on everything.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. My wife and I just celebrated our 39th wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
One more year and it'll be 40. Officially old.
Nah. The only old as you feel. The trick.
In that case, I'm dead.
The trick is to find the number you like and stick with it. I am on my 23rd anniversary, my 21st birthday.
Yeah, well, that works too.
Wait, I got the math wrong. Moving on.
So, but anywho.
1, 2, carry the Earnhardt, add the Wallace. Okay, moving on.
So, as far as, my own garage, we are working on my plans for my new garage. We've mentioned this before that my wife and I will be moving here. We're having a house built out in even further Hinter country. And along with that comes a new shop with some additional features. I'm going to be one of those people who moves from laying on the floor to having a lift. Now, it's probably going to be another year before that happens. So this show will be quite a bit older by the time that happens. But it's great fun to go around now and start looking at options and laying things out and talking to different companies about building the building that we're going to put in, and making sure that I can actually do the work I want to do. Because right now I'm in a garage like most of the rest of us, where to do a Jeep project, I must move everything out of the way, do my project, and then before dinner's over, it all has to be back in place, and Mama's car's got to be back in the garage.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to having my own building with my own space. And if I want to tear apart the Jeep and leave it in pieces, I can do that without having a scowling look on somebody's face.
It's like Kevin's man cave in a way.
Yeah, well, yeah, I won't be a cave, but
Be a cavern.
I wasn't going that way either, but all right, we'll go with that. And again, I've got to say thank you. I was really, really touched and appreciate the number of listeners who, first thing out of there when they saw my post is, what happened? What's wrong?
Yeah.
Thank you for your concern. Nothing really serious. Just one of those, I'm sick and tired. You get to a point where you've had too many naysayers in a row.
Yeah.
And what's the phrase that I used to get? Well, that's stupid. Okay, well, you can think it that way. It worked for me and the guy I was helping at the time. So
we like we talk about, we used our powers for good.
I didn't know we had any powers.
Well, clearly we do. You went viral.
No. President Roosevelt's statement went viral.
Yeah, okay. Correction. You're right on that one.
So, no. Anyhow, other upcoming stuff that you guys need to know about is registration is open for Sheriff's Jeep Fest in Pickens County, Georgia.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people call it Jasper, although that is the town in the county. And it is far bigger than just the town. Not picking on Jasper. It's a beautiful little town. It's quaint as can be. Got some neat little restaurants in it. We totally overrun it when the Jeepers show up. But it's the county that opens up all kinds of forestry road, fire roads. Some people donate their private land.
Yep.
And last year didn't happen because of unmentionable.
Something else going viral.
Yes.
Sorry. Hey, I'm here to make jokes, okay?
Yeah, you are. Good or bad.
Wrong button. That's
He's over
more
here
apropos than ever.
punching the board like crazy and nothing's happening
Because
because
he didn't have the slider up.
he has the volume down. Technology bites again.
Yes, it does.
But nope. Both Scott and Dory and Susan and I are registered for this year. Decided that we're going to go despite the house and everything else. We just need the time away.
Yes.
And go back up there and replenish the mud in the frame of my Jeep. It's getting down there now after 2 years.
Your low mud lights on?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, that's, I changed the oil last time and didn't get a face full. So
Yeah, well, time to go do it and burn out the neighbor's lawn. I'm joking.
But if you're anywhere in the southeastern U.S. in September, right?
Yeah. I think it's Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day weekend, that's right. And it's technically a 3-day event. And it's big. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite features, and I hope it doesn't change this year, is the trail rides are unproctored. It's you and the trail. And they do recommend that you go with at least 2 Jeeps, and prefer 4. And we usually go in a group of about 4 Jeeps when we make it.
Yeah.
But there's no trail lead telling you to stay right, to stay left. You go, you pick your mark, and you keep moving, and you hope it pops out somewhere that you know where you are. We had a few of those where we came out going, where are we? I can't get a GPS signal. That road goes on the hill. So let's go up and see if we can get a satellite.
We need an adult.
Here's where we are. Okay.
We need an adult. That's where you're going by dead reckoning.
Yeah. Well, you know why it's called that, don't you?
Why?
Because if you don't reckon, you're dead.
About that too. What the heck is the thing? The scope, the night stars, not a tram gauge. Oh.
Are you talking
A sextant. You need a sextant to get back sometimes, but it's during the day, which makes it incredibly difficult.
Well, we had the night rides too.
Yes.
And they are fun. I still remember the one year where somebody thought that he could take
Compass.
a Jeep Compass, a 2-wheel drive Jeep Compass. Well, it said stock.
You know what? They followed the law, if by spirit, if not by the word.
Yeah, but then he got really upset when they pulled him off the side of the road and let everybody, all thousands of Jeeps, go past him with
Wondering why we all sat there for an hour.
Oh, more than an hour. But it's always exciting. Go look it up. It's Sheriff's Jeep Fest 2021. registration is open right now. They do have obstacle courses, a vendor pavilion area. You're on your own for accommodations. There's rental properties in the area that rent by the week or the weekend. There's some hotels in the area. You are kind of out there, folks. There are some trailering locations, some primitive sites. There was talk 2 years ago in 19 that they might be putting in some full service sites. I have not heard whether they are or are not any in the area. Just a warning, if they haven't fixed it, cell service gets really, really, really clogged up because you're in the mountains of Georgia, in valleys and some of the places, and a lot of Jeepers, and everybody has their GPS and their phone going and trying to text, and you're going, I think the bar's glowing. I think I got a pixel at the bottom of the small bar.
They had the little self booster thing out there last time, and that little thing was holding on for dear life.
It was smoking around the edges, but it's an awesome, awesome trip. The trails are really neat. You meet just all kinds of really cool Jeep people out there, from local groups to people who were coming in from Canada.
Yep.
And let's see, I remember meeting somebody from Mexico there. I'm still waiting to see the first plate from England.
That was a long swim.
Well, good snorkel. Exactly. But anyway, that's probably the biggest thing coming up. And let's see, anything else that we need from a public service point of view?
At the moment, no. I just, be cool to each other. The be cool bro applies.
Yeah. Jeep waves are cool. Not required. Not going to go off on you on the other thing. But, on the other hand, if somebody is waving, hey, what's it hurt to return their wave?
Exactly.
So, I guess that's the end of it.
Yeah, it's kind of a condensed show, but, we're tired. I got schoolwork to finish. And
that's true. That's true. And,
but we did have fun today. We actually went out and saw Ron at the little, what was the name of the bar again? The O'Brien's, yeah. A little get-together out here in Brandon area. That was kind of fun. Linex and his company. And who was the other one? I'm terrible with this stuff. It was...
there was...
Red Scorpion, Linex, and what was this?
Those were the
O'Brien's, yeah.
The O'Brien's itself. Yeah. And it was fun to meet everybody. I hadn't seen John for a while. John Carl and his Willys was out there and told me that he blew out the transmission.
Oh, geez, I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, it really didn't blow out. It's when they rebuilt it the first time, they didn't replace every bearing and stuff. And so the first motion shaft that comes in from the clutch into the gear case was really flopping around. There's a bearing to the case, and then there's that bearing inside the second motion shaft.
Gotcha.
And one of those two was gone. He says, it was flopping around all over the place, and gears were popping out, and it was, and finally it broke something. And so he ended up finding somebody that either rebuilt it or sold him a rebuilt case for a very fair price. I mean, it was still steep. But you are talking about something from a Willys era CJ3, 3A, I believe, wasn't it? Yeah. And so he's now happy. It's running well. And
except for the rain.
Well, yeah. He probably got a little wet driving home. But we met a bunch of our friends there, Jeepers that we've known and was getting waved at by people that I should know. But I'll admit that I'm going, what's that person's name? If I
Error
don't just
404, file not found.
Yeah. So if I'm ever at an event and you wave at me because you know me, just go, hey, I'm Bill, or I'm Fred, or I'm Susan, or I'm, whatever. Okay, I'll take your word for it. So, Jeepers, I think as we usually say at this point, enough talking. I think we're done. Time to put the Jeep in Orlo, lockups, and hit the trail.
And also make sure to take nothing but pictures, memories, and your trash when you leave the trail.
Please, we want it there for our kids and our kids' kids.
Exactly. Well, with that, adios.
Bye.
Bye.
Proceeding has been provided for entertainment only. Proper service and repair procedures are vital to the safe, reliable operation of all motor vehicles, as well as personal safety of those performing those repairs. Standard safety procedures and precautions, including the use of safety goggles and proper tools and equipment, should be followed at all times to eliminate the possibility of personal injury or improper service which could damage the vehicle or compromise its safety.
What he said. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. You guys have a great day.
Bye.
This has been a Bent Axle Media production.